Hello, Namaskar, and you have started watching Sustainable Dunia with me, सौरभ शुक्ला। सो आज का टॉपिक एक करंट एंड ट्रेंडिंग इवेंट के बारे में है, दैट इज COP28, जो 30 नवंबर से लेकर 12 दिसंबर तक दुबई में चला और जहां मोर देन 1 lakh delegates from around 197 countries participated to discuss about issues related to climate change and sustainable development. So without wasting our time, let's start discussing on some of the key outcomes of COP28. तो ये कुछ important points हैं जिस पे हम चर्चा करेंगे and the list is in front of you on your screen. So the first point will be loss and damage fund. Then we will talk about pledge on renewable energy, which different countries have taken a pledge on. Then we will talk about charter on oil and gas decarbonization. We will also discuss about transitioning away from fossil fuels, how like what decision countries have taken in transitioning away from fossil fuels. Then we will discuss in detail about the global stock take report, which is in short form they call it GST. And last but not the least, we will talk about the key concerns related to COP28, जो कि हमेशा सारे COP meetings में कुछ ना कुछ रह जाता है, like you can call it like the drawbacks or the points which they haven't discussed. So we will also talk about that in detail. So let's start. तो पहले हम बात करेंगे लॉस एंड डैमेज फंड के बारे में। सो लॉस एंड डैमेज फंड बेसिकली फंड दिया गया है उन कंट्रीज को, लाइक डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज और लीस्ट डेवलप कंट्रीज, जो कि क्लाइमेट चेंज के इम्पैक्ट को झेल रही हैं और जिनके पास उतना फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट नहीं है कि वो उन क्लाइमेट चेंज इम्पैक्ट को लाइक यू कैन से अडेप्ट कर सकें उसके अकॉर्डिंग। सो यहाँ पे इस पर्टिकुलर कॉप मीटिंग में ये हुआ कि जो मेंबर कंट्रीज हैं कॉप की, उन्होंने एग्री किया कि हम सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ फंड्स जो है वो ग्रांट करेंगे टू दीज डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज एंड लीस्ट डेवलप कंट्रीज जहाँ पे क्लाइमेट चेंज इम्पैक्ट ज़्यादा है बट दे डोंट हैव दैट फाइनेंशियल कैपेबिलिटी टू अडेप्ट टू द क्लाइमेट चेंज। और यहाँ पे जो फंड एग्री किया गया COP28 में, वहाँ पे अराउंड $700 million US प्लेज किया गया है दैट दे विल प्रोवाइड टू दीज कंट्रीज। और इसमें एक स्पेसिफिक परसेंटेज है इस फंड का दैट विल बी गिवन टू दी लीस्ट डेवलप कंट्रीज या फिर स्मॉल आइलैंड डेवलपिंग स्टेट्स लाइक यू कैन से मॉरिशस और मालदीव्स, like which are more vulnerable to the impact of climate change. और फिलहाल के लिए अभी इसमें वर्ल्ड बैंक जो है वो एडमिनिस्टर करेगा लॉस एंड डैमेज फंड को। और ये जो ओवरऑल जो फंड है उसका 24% अभी वर्ल्ड बैंक विल चार्ज, सो एज टू यू कैन से उन्होंने फीस अपनी ली है 24%। सो अगर ओवरऑल 700 मिलियन का भी फंड जो प्लेज किया है इन्होंने, सो उसमें से 24% वर्ल्ड बैंक अपने पास रखेगा एंड द रेस्ट it will use in the betterment of these countries or help these countries to fight the impact of the climate change. So after operationalizing the loss and damage fund, which was the positive highlight of COP28, the next big thing was the pledging of renewable energy. So as we know that renewable energy resources are the best bet for mitigating the climate change impacts, because renewable energy do not emit any form of greenhouse gas emissions. So, in COP28, around 118 countries have pledged to triple their renewable energy capacity to at least 11,000 gigawatt, and also doubling their global rate of energy efficiency by 2030, which is a good step. But let's see how they progress when the next COP you can say happens. Then again their progress will be reviewed, like what exactly they have achieved. But as of now, this is a good step. Uh, the COP28 also discussed about the role of transitional fuels. You can say natural gas. So natural gas is a transitional fuel because these fuels have uh, they are lower carbon intensive as compared to some of the fuels like oil and coal, which are, as compared to natural gas, they have a higher capacity to emit carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So, because these transitional fuels will help these countries to maintain their energy security, so it will not be difficult for them to you can say manage their energy needs while transitioning from fossil fuel based energy resources to renewable energy resources. Also, the third point was with respect to the scaling up of their hydrogen-based renewables, and the country industries have targeted 11 million ton fuel based on hydrogen by 2030. So these were some good initiatives in the, you can say, sector of renewable energy. So the next big thing was signing of a charter on oil and gas decarbonization. So in this, over 50 national and international oil companies that produces around 40% of you can say global oil and gas have signed a decarbonization charter. So this is a good initiative because we know that oil and gas sector, they are highly carbon intensive, so they are responsible for a large amount of greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. In this charter, there were three, you can say, three main aims or initiative which these countries have taken, and these are like they will try to achieve net zero emissions in their company operations by or before 2050. They will also try to achieve near zero methane leakage from the production of oil and gas by 2030. Methane is like second most important greenhouse gas, and it has very high greenhouse warming potential as compared to carbon dioxide. So it becomes very important to reduce the methane leakage, and which they have targeted 2030. Also, the third and important point is they will try to achieve zero routine flaring, which is the burning of excess gas in the process of petroleum refineries and all. So they will try to reduce it to zero by 2030. So this is a good initiative, but again, this need to be tracked in the upcoming years and need to see how companies are progressing. So one of the important point which COP28 has talked or discussed about is transitioning away from fossil fuels. So basically, this was the first COP meeting that has officially acknowledged that fossil fuels are the root cause of climate change. And they have mentioned in their report that now this is the time that we need to transition away from fossil fuels in a just and equitable manner, or uh, in order to achieve the net zero targets by 2050. बट इसमें एक लूप होल ये जो निकल के आ रहा है कि दे हैव दो टॉक्ड अबाउट दी ट्रांजिशन अवे फ्रॉम फॉसिल फ्यूल, बट अगर ये क्वेश्चन अगर रेस होता है कि क्या दिस विल बी द एंड ऑफ फॉसिल फ्यूल एरा, और लाइक वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स you can say basically the renewable energy resources, and now no fossil fuel will be used. So there is a, you can say, a caveat here, because they haven't talked about the phasing out of the fossil fuels, which in the earlier COP meetings they were talking about with respect to the coal. They were saying that we need to phase out the coals, but here they have used the word transitioning rather than phasing out. So now there is one, you can say, option available for the countries or the companies to use carbon capture and storage technology in order to keep using the fossil fuels, but like and then capture those carbon emissions which are getting out while burning these fossil fuels. So again, we need to watch and we need to see. We will be COP. These meetings need to be, you can say, tracking this particular thing, how companies are doing this or how countries are taking this particular line, transitioning away, and how they are, you can say, shifting their energy mix. Then the next big thing was global stocktake report, which is GST report. So global stocktake means that so when Paris Agreement happened in 2015, then it was decided that after 5 years we will be tracking like how countries have progressed in achieving or mitigating the impacts of climate change, and what exactly the status quo. Like they will check within the 5 years time span. But this is the first time it is happening, because in 2020 the world was grappling with the impacts of COVID-19, so it was not happened. So this is the first time when countries has countries have taken the stock take, how exactly we have progressed after the Paris Agreement of 2015. और इसका जो बिगेस्ट टेक अवे ये था कि जो पेरिस एग्रीमेंट में एक टारगेट सेट किया गया था कि जो प्री इंडस्ट्रियल लेवल से हमें टेम्परेचर राइज को 1.5 डिग्रीज तक रखना है, उसके ऊपर नहीं जाने देना है. तो वी आर वेरी मच, यू कैन से, लैगिंग बिहाइंड दैट टारगेट, और ऑलरेडी लाइक 1 डिग्री से ज़्यादा की वार्मिंग हो चुकी है. एंड और जो हमारा जो फॉसिल फ्यूल्स का जो एमिशंस पीक होने का जो एक स्टेज था, वो भी वेरी, इट हैज़ कम टू वेरी क्लोज. लाइक 2025 तक ये था कि सारी कंट्रीज़ को अपना जो एमिशंस है वो पीक पे लाके वहाँ से रिड्यूस करना स्टार्ट कर देना है. बट स्टिल वो जो एक टारगेट है वो दूर दूर तक अभी कुछ दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है. एंड इसलिए यहाँ पे ये बोला गया है कि दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग जो 1.5 डिग्री सेल्सियस की जो हमने बात की थी पेरिस में टू रिड्यूस द टेम्परेचर, वो अभी रिस्क पे है. सो लेट्स सी कि कैसे ये फोल्ड होता है आने वाले टाइम में. ऑल्सो जीएसटी जो रिपोर्ट है उसमें, लाइक वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस इन आवर प्रीवियस स्लाइड्स कि दे हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट कि कैसे फॉसिल फ्यूल्स को ट्रांजिशन करना है टुवर्ड्स द क्लीनर फ्यूल्स और रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी रिसोर्सेज. Then GST report has also called for the tripling of renewable energy capacity globally, and then also doubling the energy efficiency by 2030. So this also we have talked about. And they have also called out for reducing non-CO2 emissions like methane emissions, nitrous oxide, and certain other gases. So, because these gases have very high greenhouse warming potential. So, if you don't know about the greenhouse warming potential, you can watch my previous videos. I have clearly explained what that means. So, basically, फिर यहाँ पे उन्होंने बात की है कि 2030 तक all these non-CO2 emissions and they need to reduce gradually. So ये ओवरऑल जो ग्लोबल स्टॉक टेक रिपोर्ट थी उसमें ये इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट डिस्कस किया गया. तो हमने जो इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स थे, जो इम्पोर्टेंट हाइलाइट्स थे कॉप 28 के, दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. लेकिन देयर वर सम की कंसर्न्स आल्सो विद रिस्पेक्ट टू कॉप 28. कुछ ऐसे पॉइंट्स थे विच द कॉन्फ्रेंस हैजंट हाईलाइटेड और हैव इट फोकस्ड ऑन इट. जैसे कि द फर्स्ट वन विच यू कैन सी ऑन द स्क्रीन इज दैट the COP28 has not provided any specific timelines for the fossil fuel phase out. So, Abhibi, they have just mentioned that we will be transitioning away from fossil fuel, but at what particular date or what is the cutoff year, that they haven't mentioned. So this is little bit vague. The second thing is they haven't specified any targets on tripling of global renewable energy. So as of now, 118 countries have pledged to, you can say, triple their renewable energy. But what about the remaining countries and the targets? That is not clear. The third thing is there is no clear mechanism for achieving adaptation goals. So adaptation goal is basically the climate change adaptation. Those countries which are grappling with the impacts of climate change, like we can say the changing weather patterns. There is a lot of natural hazards happening, extreme weather event is happening. So how exactly these countries are adapting to the impact of climate change, that mechanism is still not clear. There is no lack of accountability on financial commitments. So पहले ये बात हुई थी कि जो डेवलप कंट्रीज हैं दे विल, यू कैन से, उनकी तरफ से पैसा इनफ्लो होगा टूवर्ड्स द डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज एंड द डेवलप कंट्रीज, पर उसका कुछ अभी क्लियर कट कमिटमेंट देखने को नहीं मिला, या फिर उस पर डिस्कशन ही नहीं हुआ एग्जैक्टली क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस पे. तो दिस इज one of the, you can say, drawback of the COP28, or you can say which they haven't highlighted, and this need to be watched in the next upcoming COP29, which is going to be happen in Azerbaijan, a Central Asian country. And जैसे कि अभी दुबई विच इज़ ऑलरेडी एक्सपोर्टर ऑफ ऑयल एंड गैस, तो काफ़ी इस पे आईब्रोज रेस हुए थे कि द कंट्री विच इज़ itself a exporter of oil and gas and depend hugely on oil and gas, or like that country is, you can say, conducting the COP meeting. So people were raising eyebrows. So अभी COP29 पे भी कुछ ऐसे ही you can say remarks आ रहे हैं Azerbaijan, because it is another major oil and gas producer with a poor human rights record. and it's strongly influenced by Russia. So that need to be watched. And also the next thing which you can say climate change activists, the environmental activists, and the researchers and the whole community which is working towards mitigating the impact of climate change and combating the climate change is, what about the 1.5-degree limit, which we you can say discussed in Paris Climate Accord. So now countries, this is the high time that countries need to raise their commitment, need to take action at the ground level to, you can say, keep that 1.5-degree limits in a survival stage, that do not get lost, or the time runs out of our hand that we are not able to achieve that 1.5-degree Celsius limit target, and then the impact of this will be like very, you can say, worse on humanity and to the whole, you can say, world. So that need to be watched and in the upcoming COP meetings and upcoming events related to climate change. इस वीडियो में बस इतना ही। होप आपको काफ़ी कुछ जानने, समझने और सीखने को मिला होगा। In case of any doubts and queries, please ask me in the comment box. I will be happy to answer and help you out. तो मिलते हैं फिर एक नए वीडियो में एक नए टॉपिक के साथ। Till then, bye bye, take care and नमस्कार।